So now repo is done. Can we go for reverse repo? So reverse repo is actually the opposite. Okay, so you can write there one definition. Under this, under reverse repo, under this, the central bank, under this, the central bank or RBI sells short-term government securities. Central bank or RBI sells short-term government security to banks with an agreement to purchase them back at a predetermined rate and date. At a predetermined rate and date. Okay, so what I'm saying is the government security only here, RBI will sell, right? What is the agreement? So what banks will give to RBI? Rupee, right? What is the agreement? It will be repurchased, right? That means there will be a buyback. So RBI will give rupee to bank. So this is what reverse repo. Okay, I missed out one thing over here. When we talked about repo, so repo rate increasing, what does that mean? Repo rate increasing means how will it affect the money supply?
The money supply will reduce.
Yes, you can see here repo rate increasing. Do you think banks will borrow under repo? Any interest is increasing means logically you can think the borrowing will come down, right? So banks will borrow less, so banks will lend less also. Credit creation capacity will come down. Okay, no? So banks will get less money because of increase in repo. So credit creation will be less. Credit creation less means what is the money supply impact? Money supply will decrease. Money supply will decrease means purchasing power will decrease. That lead to decrease in aggregate demand. That lead to control in inflation. Inflation will come down or price level will come down. Automatically growth also will come down. So that is why we are always talking repo rate increase for decreasing or reducing inflation. But the problem is why government is against increase in repo rate, because growth will be affected. So growth is affected means unemployment, poverty and all those problems will be there. Okay, so repo rate increase can control inflation. How? Because you can reduce money supply. We will revisit this again in inflation. Inflation control measures will revisit. Okay, so here we are with the reverse repo. So I hope you understood this reverse repo. So some textbooks or some teachers, if you see, they will say that reverse repos, RBI borrows from bank. You can actually say in two ways, RBI borrow from bank, or secondly, bank keep their money with RBI. What do you think is better? What is better?
The second option.
Why second is better?
So because why would RBI take any loan?
Actually, what is the need for RBI to take loan from banks, right? So there is no point in saying, and these are some people at some point of time taught somebody, and it continued just like that. Repos, banks borrow from RBI, and reverse repos, the reverse. RBI borrow from banks. What is the point in RBI to borrow from banks? Is it required? You think logically, and you know, when you speak, you think logically and speak. There is no point in RBI to borrow from banks. Even the textbook also tells this, that is a problem actually. So, but better to tell this, because when RBI is giving better interest, okay, why you keep this, why you are giving money to RBI? Because you get more interest. When the reverse repo is so high, actually bank give money to RBI. So it is because you are keeping it's like you are depositing your money in RBI. Okay, so it is better to say RBI or banks keep their money with RBI rather than RBI borrowing from bank. Obviously, it is done to suck out money supply. What will happen if reverse repo rate the interest at which, the rate at which this transaction is happening, That is what the reverse repo rate. You can write one line over there. It is a reverse repo rate. Heading reverse repo rate. One line. It is the rate of interest. It is the rate of interest at which banks can keep funds with the central bank. Banks can keep funds with the central bank. See, like we keep our fund with banks, no, and banks are paying certain interest. Similarly here also, actually banks are not borrowing from us. We are depositing it in bank. Exactly the same way banks are keeping funds with RBI. That is a better way of interpretation of this reverse repo. That's why I am writing like this. Banks keep funds with central. You may see in some textbooks RBI borrow from banks, but okay, whatever it is, it's up to you to take it in whatever way you want. Both are okay. Banks can keep funds with the central bank for short period of time. Under a reverse repo transaction. Okay, so what you need to do here is what will happen if reverse repo is increasing? Let's suppose reverse repo rate is increasing. What will happen?
So money supply will reduce.
Why money supply is going to reduce? Because banks are getting more interest. Banks are getting more interest if you keep money with RBI. So banks will be motivated to give money to RBI. So banks don't have money now because banks are getting higher interest from RBI. So what will happen? So banks will keep money with RBI, right? So when banks keep money with RBI, bank don't have money to lend. So credit creation capacity will be affected. That lead to decrease in money supply. Okay, so money supply will reduce. Then whatever we have discussed in case of other the repo, everything will be the same. So here money supply decrease, purchasing power decrease, aggregate demand decrease, price will decrease, and growth also will decrease. Okay. Now one thing people have always confusion is this: repo increase also lead to the same, reverse repo increase also lead to the same. Okay, just see the word is different, reverse, but that doesn't mean that you need to do the reverse operation. In both cases the operation is same. Repo increasing, money supply will reduce. Reverse repo increasing, still money supply will reduce. Okay, and I've told you repo is the policy rate, everything else is connected with the policy rate. So bank rate was how much? If you see bank rate, it is repo plus 0.5 percentage point, right? So what do you think reverse repo? Reverse repo will be more or less than repo? Logically, tell me logically.
Less than repo.
Why it is less?
Or else banks will always park their fund with RBI for higher interest rate. I guess.
No, not that. If reverse repo is less, what will happen is, or if reverse repo is less, if it is more, what will happen? If reverse repo is more, what will happen? Okay, for example, you are getting, let's say, you are depositing in bank. Okay, banks giving you interest, let's say 10% when you deposit. Okay, and you are getting fund from bank at 9%. What will happen here? You borrow from bank at 9% and you will deposit in bank at 10%, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That's exactly what is going to happen here. If reverse repo is less, if reverse repo is more, that means if repo is less, banks will borrow under repo rate and banks will deposit in reverse repo rate. So banks will get extra. Correct, no? So repo rate should be always less than the reverse repo should be less than repo. So reverse repo is actually repo minus 0.5 percentage point. You got this logic what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, imagine this case, some bank is offering you 10% interest if you deposit. Okay, if you deposit, you are getting 10% interest. And banks are charging you 8% if you borrow. Then what you do? You will borrow at 8% and you deposit in the same bank at 10%, right? That's exactly what is going to happen if repo is, let's say, 6% and reverse repo is 7%. You will borrow at repo and you will deposit at 7% through reverse repo. Ankita, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is the reason why reverse repo is less than repo. If it is less, then this will not happen. Just like normal bank, when you borrow from bank, what is actually happening? Exactly the same. Okay. So is this
So what is the exact need of reverse repo?
reverse repo means to suck out the money. Repo and reverse
So
repo, there are many instruments, but repo and reverse repo simultaneously function. No, see, for example, repo increase. What will happen? Money supply will decrease. For what is the reason why money supply is decreasing? Banks are not able to borrow because of high interest. Right? Correct, no? If repo is increasing, money supply decrease because banks are not able to borrow under a high interest. Similarly, when reverse repo increasing, there is a reverse impact. Now banks can keep money with RBI and RBI is giving you better interest. Why you are giving this to public? So bank themselves will opt to keep money with RBI when reverse repo is increasing. In that context also, money supply will decrease. See, when reverse repo is increasing, bank choose to keep money with RBI instead of lending to public because RBI is offering you better interest. So in that context, yeah,
It is still not clear to me.
when reverse repo is increasing, banks are getting more interest from RBI, correct?
Yes.
Yes, when banks are getting more interest from RBI, banks prefer to keep money with RBI.
Yes.
So RBI is giving more interest, you are keeping money, banks are keeping money with RBI. So banks have no money to lend outside. So money supply will decrease.
So this should essentially happen when banks have surplus funds, right?
Whatever it is, this will, see, both will work together, no? Both are connected and both will work together. So both working together, money supply will come down. On one side, your bank is not able to borrow. Secondly, bank is motivated to give money to RBI. Both are working simultaneously and effectively money supply is coming down. Not clear even now.
No, sir.
What is the problem?
So I'll ask in the ending.
Okay.
Finish the class.
Yeah. So you understood the logic why reverse repo is less than repo?